Minasan, konnichiwa, watashi no namae wa Isabel Martiso Aristides. And today, I'll take you on a short journey across three of Tokyo's most iconic landmarks, the Sensoji Temple, Tokyo Sky Tree, and the Imperial Palace, along with its Tokyo Guardian Gardens. Now, each of these sites represents a different facet in Tokyo, which is history, modernity, and heritage. First, let's immerse ourselves in history at Sensoji in Asukasa. Founded in 1945, it is Tokyo's oldest temple, and it remains a vibrant center of tradition and spirituality. So, the famous Kaminaraimon Gate, which is this one with its giant red lantern, welcomes visitors leading through Kamikaze Street to the ornate main hall and a five-storied pagoda. As you can see in the map, the Sensoji Asukasa Temple is centrally located in the center of the Asukasa district, making it easy to visit for visitors. Next, please. Next, storytelling about the cityscape is the Sky Tree Tower, Japan's tallest structure at 634 meters. The observation decks, you can see the entire across Metropolis. As you can see the picture, a modern vantage point offering a panoramic views. As you can see the map, the Tokyo Sky Tree is just near across the Asukasa Temple, which making these two attractions convenient to explore together. Next, please. Now, finally, we visit the historic heart of Tokyo, which is the Imperial Palace and the Tokyo Guardian Gardens. These grounds, once part of the old Edo Castle, now they offer history and nature in the center of Tokyo. So the garden alone covers roughly 450,000 meters. Imagine walking through the gates or across the bridge near the palace gives you a glimpse into Japan's imperial history amidst a modern capital. As you can see in the map, you can literally see that the vast greens expanse preserved in the middle of the center. Now, in terms of responsible tourism, Sensoji preserves its historical architecture through careful reconstruction using modern materials, while Tokyo Sky Tree So in the end, Sensoji Temple, the Tokyo Sky Tower, and the Imperial Palace beautifully connects its past, present, and natural landscapes, making it, they remind us that tourism makes best when we preserve heritage, supports communities, and enhance the customer experience. Domo arigatou gozaimasu, and I hope you enjoyed our tour in Tokyo.
Good day, everyone. I'm Christina Balanan, and today I'll take you on a journey through one of India's most iconic, most fascinating cities, New Delhi. And as they say in Hindi, Namaste, which means I greet you with respect. Join me as we explore three remarkable landmarks in New Delhi: the Qutub Minar, the Humayun Tomb, and the Lotus Temple. So first, we have here the Qutub Minar, located in the historic Qutub complex. Qutub Minar is a soaring minaret, about 72.5 meters tall. Its red stone and marble architecture, plus intricate carvings and inscriptions, make it one of the New Delhi's iconic monument. Next, please. Next, we come to Humayun's Tomb, a majestic mausoleum set in beautifully landscaped gardens. Built in the 16th century, its asymmetrical design, arched halls, and Persian local elements mark it as a precursor to many of India's later grand monuments. Next, please. Finally, the Lotus Temple, a modern architectural gem, its shape reminiscent of a lotus flower, welcomes people of all faiths with its striking petals, serene interior hall, and peaceful ambience, it offers a different spiritual and contemporary experience compared to the historic monument. So next is for the tourism best practices. So visiting these landmarks responsibly helps preserve their heritage. At Qutub Minar, staying on designated paths and respecting restricted areas helps protect ancient stonework, and at the Humayun Tomb, gardens and fragile structures benefit from controlled visitor flow and respectful behavior. And at the Lotus Temple, silence, cleanliness, and calm help maintain its peaceful spiritual atmosphere. So for the cultural and economic contribution, these sites draw tourists worldwide, supporting local guides, hospitality businesses, and vendors around the monuments. Qutub Minar brings history lovers and architecture enthusiasts. Humayun's Tomb attracts those interested in Mughal era heritage and the Humayun's Tomb attracts those interested in Mughal era heritage. The Lotus Temple appeals to spiritual seekers and local travelers alike. Collectively, they contribute significantly to tourism-driven economy in New Delhi.
Konnichiwa, watashi no namae wa Aoi Matsuri desu. Minasan konnichiwa, Kyoto, Nihon ni so okoshi deshimashita. Good day everyone, today I will be presenting to you the 3 famous and historical tourist attractions in Kyoto, Japan. Starting off by the Kiyomizu-dera Temple. This temple is very popular in Japan because it has a big wooden stage overlooking the city. It also has a beautiful scenic view, especially in cherry blossom season and autumn season. So as you can see, this is the inside and outside look of the Kiyomizu-dera Temple, representing the old and fascinating architectural styles in this temple. So this is the vicinity map of the Kiyomizu-dera Temple. You will notice it is also surrounded by a lot of temples, but the Kiyomizu-dera Temple stands out the most. So it also helps the locals in Kyoto, Japan for supporting their local business such as kimono rentals, souvenir shops, and local goods and tour guiding. So next please. So just a few walks away, you can now enter the Ninzaka and Sensenaka Street. But before you enter the street, you will notice the vicinity map outside the street. So you can see different places that you can see inside the street. So this street preserves the old Japanese streets featuring old wooden houses, tea houses, craft shops, and corners where visitors think that they are stepping into ancient Japan by wearing their kimono rentals. Now this is the interior design of one of the tea houses in Kyoto, Japan, or in Ninzaka, Japan. Please. So located between the Ninzaka and Sensenaka Street, you will find the iconic Gesaka Pagoda, or known as the Hokkaiji Temple. This temple is This temple is 5-story building, which one of the most photographed spots in Kyoto, Japan, because of its ancient and beautifully architectural style that represents the old Japan. So, industry attractions, economically, they can help the locals in Kyoto, Japan by supporting their local business, and the best practices in this historical places is to be respectful and mindful for your actions, especially this 3 attractions is one of the most respected places in Kyoto, Japan. And that would be all for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Annyeonghaseyo, Katungyong Salila. Today I'll be sharing 3 of Seoul's most attraction. So, Namsan Seoul Tower, Gyeongbokgung Palace, and Bukchon Hanok Village. Namsan Seoul Tower is also called An Seoul Tower. is a tall broadcast and observation tower on the top of Namsan Mountain. It has a sleek, modern facade and glass bowl viewing deck. So inside you'll see a restaurants, cafe, LED attraction, and 360 tower, 360 observation floors where you can see the entire city. Next, facts about this is it was Korea's first multi-purpose radio and observation. It offers one of the best views of Seoul, and the Lot of Lamps is a famous spot for couples. So when it comes to best practices, they buy tickets ahead of time, follow queue lines, and stay mindful of crowded viewing decks. So on the other hand, their economic contribution and Seoul Tower boosts tourism spending, especially in foods, souvenirs, and tourism, and night tourism and nearby hotels. So next, please. So next is Gyeongbok Palace is built in 1395. Gyeongbok is the main royal palace in Joseon Dynasty. So located in Jungno District, Gwancham Station from Namsan, it's short drive or subway drive. So when it comes to facts, it's the largest and most important palace in Seoul, home to the throne of Gyeongjong-jeon, famous for the royal changing ceremonies. Next, their best practices, they wear comfortable shoes, respect restricted area, and quiet and ceremonious host. So on the other hand, the economic contribution is the palace attracts millions of locals and foreign tourists yearly, supporting guides, museum, hanok rentals, restaurants, and souvenir spots. So next, please. Lastly is a Bukchon Hanok Village. As Bukchon is a preserved neighborhood filled with traditional Korean Hanok foods. So it is located between Gyeongbok Palace and Changdong Palace. So there are facts about Bukchon Hanok Village. Their facts is contain hundreds of rested homes, over 600 years old. Many Hanoks now serve 3 houses
Kung
culture.
mabuhay o Manaya, my name is Heidi Rose Abasingan, and today we are going to explore the 3 icons that captures the heart of Beijing. So they are the Forbidden City, Beihai Park, and their famous local dish, the Peking duck or roasted duck. So without further ado, let's begin with the very heart of Beijing, the Forbidden Palace. So the facts about this is that Forbidden Palace was commissioned in the year 1406 by the Yongle Emperor and was completed in the year 1420. And this enormous palace complex was once a symbol of imperial power. That is why back then, ordinary people is strictly forbidden from entering, which earned its name, the Forbidden City. So the palace was built with the precise feng shui principles. That is why all of the major halls of this palace is facing south to honor the sun and leadership. Because for almost 5 centuries, this palace served as the political center of China. And by the year 1987, it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site because it was recognized for its unmatched architecture and its historical influence. So today, it is a palace museum welcoming millions of tourists, and their best practices when it comes to tourism is that if you want to visit there, you have to book the tickets online, since walk-ins are no longer allowed to preserve and protect the site. So when it comes to economics, the Forbidden Palace boosts the economic of Beijing through tourism, exhibitions, museum shops, and nearby businesses. So, next please. So, just the west side side of the Forbidden Palace lies the Beihai Park, one of China's oldest imperial garden, and it was built in the year 938 during the Liao dynasty, and it was expanded throughout the several dynasties, including the Ming and Qing dynasties. So the park is covered the 68 hectares, and half of it is, as you can see in the vicinity map, is a lake. And their best practices there is that since ginadayo siya sa mga tourists because it offers a most peaceful life in the city since it is in Beijing.
So good day everyone, I am Julian Rose Bono, and today I'm going to share with you the most iconic attractions in Bangkok, Thailand, which are the Agam Sayang, the Wat Arang, and the Grand Palace. So the first is the Agam Sayang. So Agam Sayang is a world-class complex. It is a river-wide complex. It is opened in 2018. So it is the famous, and it's also known as the mother of all malls in Thailand because of its luxurious style, the cultural zone, and also indoor it is the floating market. Indoor is the floating market. Next, please. This is the interior design of the Agam Sayang. As you can see, it is very luxurious. Next, please. And this is the floating market. So, karon pwede mo nakaduwag no nga naa yung floating market ang isa ka mo, di ba? Yes. So, next, please. So, economically, it contributes 1 billion of baht yearly and thousands of jobs in retail, entertainment, hospitality, and also for river transport. So, as you can see, this is the river Agam Sayang. Next, please. So, the next one is the Wat Arang. So, Wat Arang is also known as the Temple of Dawn. It was built in 2018, and also this temple is also it is very beautiful inside because inside of this temple has the traditional wall painting and a golden Buddha statue. So economically, it attracts millions of tourists and also next please. It located here. This one. This is the Wat Arang. So next is the Golden Palace. So the Golden Palace was built in 1732 and as a residence of Thai kings. So Golden Palace is responsible for tourism responsible for dress codes and also for strict cleanliness rules and also for a continuous restoration. So as you can see here, this is the inside of the Golden Palace. Has a beautiful facade. And so next, this is the map of the here is the Grand Palace. So as you can see po, ang may place is connected lang po siya. This is the Agam Sayang, the Wat Arang, and the Grand Palace. And that's all.
Hola a todos, mabuhay Manila. Good day everyone. I'm Gia Micaela C. Gumaro, and today I'll take you on a brief yet inspiring journey to Barcelona, Spain. We'll explore three of its most iconic landmarks: the La Sagrada Familia, Casa Batlló, and Park Güell, masterpieces that reflects Antoni Gaudi's brilliance and Spain's rich artistic heritage. Let's begin with La Sagrada Familia. It's Barcelona's iconic and still unfinished basilica begun in 1882. Designed by Gaudí with Gothic and Art Nouveau styles, soaring spires, intricate facades, and stained glass windows that fill the interior with vivid colors. Next is the Casa Batlló on Passeig de Gracia. Is a 1904 Gaudí's redesigned, known for its skeletal balconies and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, flowing with organic shapes and messiah-clad facades. Its curving interior and dragon-like roof showcase Gaudí's imaginative and nature-inspired style. Lastly is the park well. The park well, planned in the early 90s as a garden community, is now a celebrated public park. Its colorful mosaics, whimsical sculpture, and panoramic city views, especially the famous Edrec Dragon, make it one of Barcelona's most beloved landmarks. So these attractions follow strong sustainable tourism practices. La Sagrada Familia use time and free tickets to manage crowds and supports restoration. Casa Batlló maintains energy efficient system to preserve Gaudi's interiors, and Park Güell controls visitors flow and maintains conservation program to protect its landscapes and landmarks. So, tourism around these sites greatly boosts Barcelona's economy, from cafes and artisan shops near Park Güell to guided tours around Sagrada Familia and specialty boutiques near Casa Batlló. These landmarks support thousands of jobs. Collectively, they attract millions of visitors yearly, strengthening local businesses and Spain's overall tourism industry. Each destination offers a taste of local culture. Enjoy churros con chocolate near Sagrada Familia. Try Catalan pastries around Casa Batlló, or savor horchata and pan with tomate near Parco. Supporting local foods and artisans help tourism benefit the community. In conclusion, La Sagrada Familia, Casa Batlló, and Park Güell shows how Spain blends art, culture, and creativity.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Janet Inosora, and I'll be discussing free economy attraction in the USA, which is the first is Statue of Liberty. Our facts are the Statue of Liberty was built from translated Spain and dedicated in 1886. And standing 305 dead light into the ground of Davidson torch, it served as a powerful symbol of freedom and democracy. Visitor can explore the statue, even climb up to the ground for panoramic view. Through this requires reservation. Liberty Island itself is part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument managed by National Park Service.
And this is the last destination of Texas City. This is the United States. It was opened in 1914 as a Fine Arts masterpiece. It covers 850,000 square feet with a 95-foot grand hall with a massive chandelier with a stage-wide clock, and it was closed in 1980s. But a vice state reopened it in 1999 as a cultural hub with Science City, a planetarium, a restaurant, a theater. And when it comes to best practices, it exemplifies the sport reuse, honoring the architectural heritage while adapting the community needs. And when it comes to economic contributions, the restoration sparked downtown revitalizations by creating jobs,